Greetings, I'm John Striker Meyer. I was a Green Beret in Vietnam for 2 tours of duty. I know what it's like to come home from a combat zone. I know the feeling of being alone in a crowd. And I know how hard it is to get started again. That's why today I work with the Veterans Affordable Housing Program. It's a nonprofit organization that helps get veterans into their own homes. The Veterans Affordable Housing Program is partnered with a company that controls or manages 40 manufactured home communities across the 5 western states. They're working together to make these communities and these modern, newly built manufactured homes available at a cost veterans can afford. They have designed programs that are available especially for veterans. Over the next 30 minutes, I'll tell you more about these programs and how they can help you if you're a veteran. But I'll tell you right now that you can also learn more by going online to www.veteransaffordablehousing.org or by simply dialing 888-923-8387. Meanwhile, we have a great movie for you. And wouldn't you know, it features, you guessed it, a veteran. This is the story of Captain Robert H. Meyer, a glider pilot in World War II, a true American hero. So sit back, enjoy the movie, Wings of War, the flight log of Captain Robert H. Meyer.
My name is Captain Bob Meyer. I was in the troop carrier during World War II. I was a glider pilot, but I also flew C-47s. It was a hard job, but somebody had to do it.
Lord, I wonder, where's my good man at? He left here this morning, didn't care nothing but his hat.
I live in the city of Orange. I have for 50 years. And my job, I wanted to be around airplanes. And so I had a chance to be a docent. As I tell people, I couldn't get a decent job. So I took a job as a docent because they don't pay you anything. But here I'm working in a museum of World War II aircrafts. Every one of them flies. And I've had an opportunity to fly in these World War II airplanes. And I have an opportunity to share stories, you might say lies, with other airmen that come through. So these last few years have been very nice to me, and they be very kind. People say, how old are you? And I say, 91. They say, you don't look 91. Thank you, thank you. But I am 91, thank God. I took part in 3 major battles in France. D-Day, took part in the invasion of southern France, and flying the gas to Patton. In Normandy, when I landed, I could hear the bullets going through that canvas, going thump, 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 as the one in one side and out the other. So after I landed, I looked and counted the bullet holes. Where I was, not one bullet hole. Where my troops were, not one bullet hole. But the next 5 feet, I counted over 150 bullet holes. And I said to myself, thank God they weren't duck hunters, because duck hunters know how to lead the target. So they were shooting at me. By the time the bullets got there, I had already passed. We flew dark, under the overcast, at 600 feet. So anybody who had a pistol on the ground or a pop gun could have shot at us as we made our way in. And so when we landed at high speed, and we were taught in training to head for the hedgerows, using leaves of the tree to slow us down. But unfortunately, When we thought we were going through branches, we actually hit stone walls that were 5 foot high. They gave us little crickets. They're little toys. And when we came to a hedgerow, we would go crick, crick, because we knew that the paratroopers on the other side of the hedgerows also had those. And when we heard a click, click, we knew we were safe. Our only problem with that was the Germans were firing Mauser rifle, which are bolt action. So when you pull it back, it goes click, click. And sometime to our horror and to the Germans' horror, we would come to hedgerows and found those click clicks weren't the little crickets. Those click clicks were the real thing. It was at night. We were flying under an overcast. No moon. I couldn't even see the tow plane. The only thing I saw were 2 little jets of blue flame coming out of the motors. And that's what I used to fly by until it came the time to cut off. And when I cut off, I looked around quickly and I saw what I learned later was Rommel's asparagus. The Germans had planted telephone poles in every field that was big enough for the gliders to land in. And they were nasty because they put barbed wire from the top of one pole to the bottom of the next pole and then put a claymore landmine at the bottom of that wire. Those claymore mines were full of ball bearings. So your chance of living through them were not very good. But fortunately, I glanced on one side and saw a grape orchard. It was on the side of the hill, but I would rather land on the side of the hill than land in that forest of posts. And so even though I landed on the side of the hill, I didn't hit the vines. And so my only claim to fame is I made 4 airborne invasions and didn't put a scratch on a glider. Once I was through flying, I was simply a soldier on the ground. And you feel very vulnerable. But when you're walking over plowed fields and falling on your face because you can't see where you're going, and sometime when the bullets were flying, crawling on your face, you begin to realize the life of an infantryman. We fought that night and half of the next day until we made the way to Saint-Mary-Glisse. And then when the troops made their way from the coast, as soon as they showed up, then we were free to walk back to the coast to get a ride back to England, knowing we would be taken off for another landing, this time in southern France. We had a 1.5 years of training. We knew what was going to happen. But your faith is in yourself, your skills, and that nothing will happen to you. It'll always happen to the other guy. But that was not always the case, because we lost about 20% of our glider force when we landed in France. So we remember the sound and the fury of the shells going over, and the sight and the odor of people being killed or being wounded, and wondered whether you were next. That was the hard part, but you had to keep moving. That was your job. You do what you have to do. See, the song we sang was Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. Meaning that we've had the training, now it's up to God and anybody else that helps us. Because there's nothing more we could do. Next, we went to southern France.
August the 15th, 1944. The makings of an Allied invasion in the Mediterranean.
And I said to myself, how in the heck do you get to southern France in time of war when all of France was occupied by the German? It was simple. We flew due west for 200 miles. Then it made a left turn and went down to Gibraltar, because we knew that the German counter patrol or coast patrols did not go more than 150 miles. But can you imagine what would have happened if one of those German bombers had seen 500 C-47s flying to the coast. The town of Lemieux, it's L-E-M-U-Y, but it was part of the French Riviera. We sat there on the beach with our Thompson submachine guns, our filtered flying uniform, and our steel helmets. And when a loud siren went off, saying it was noon, and from all of the homes and all the businesses came all these gorgeous French girls. Now, me at 20, they were all gorgeous, but they came down to the beach and did something I could not believe. They took off all their clothes and put on swimming suits and went swimming. And when they came back, I said, "Why did you bother? You've shown us everything there is to see." They said, "Well, it's illegal to swim in the nude in southern France." And today it still is. But you can sunbathe in the all together on the shore, but you can't go swimming. So as I say, war is hell, but war can be very interesting. We went to the coast, trying to get a ship back to England, because England was a long way away. I said, "I'm a glider pilot." "Oh, we didn't provide a ship." We did not know how many glider pilots would survive. So I said, "How am I supposed to get back to England?" He said, "I don't know, hitchhike." And being a dumb second lieutenant, I went to the coast, hitchhiked a ride in a fishing boat to northern Italy, hitchhiked down the Italian coast till I got to the airport. I sat there for a week trying desperately to find somebody who was going to England, but that didn't happen. And a pilot came by and saw my wings. He said, Can you fly a C-46? That's a much bigger plane than a C-47. And I said, "No, but I've had 5 hours training." He said, "Fine, you're going to be my co-pilot." So we took off because we had the general's Jeep, plus the general, and we were going to land in Casablanca. Now, I had just graduated from high school, and I knew that if you look north from Casablanca, although it's too far away to see, you could actually see England. So I thought, well, I'd better have a better chance in Casablanca at getting back to England than I would from southern France. But the strange thing was, he told me about the instruments, he told me about the airspeed, he told me about the manifold pressure, he told me about the direction I was supposed to follow him on the compass, rolled over and went to sleep. I had only had 5 hours of training and never in this twin-engine airplane. And I flew that, and every half hour he'd wake up, look at the instruments, nod his head, and go back to sleep. For 7 hours I flew that C-46. And when we got to Casablanca, he said, "Would you like to land it?" By that time I thought I was one good pilot. So I said, "Sure." Well, I was there for a week, and I ran into some Canadian pilots. I said, "What in the heck are I didn't say heck. What were the heck are Canadian pilots doing here?" Oh, he said, "We're flying big flying boats. Those are huge." And they said, "Where are you stationed?" And I said, "Taunton." "Oh," he said, "our base is 15 miles from you. Would you like a lift back?" And I said, "I sure would." So they took me and flew me back to my base, and their colonel gave me a Jeep and a driver, took them back to my base, and I was scared to death. I had been gone 3.5 weeks from the battlefield. I thought I was AWOL, and I went before the colonel, a little bit afraid. He said, "No, you don't know this. When a glider pilot goes on a mission, they rub their name off the roster. And if they come back, they put it back on." So when we went to Holland, I wore this uniform under my flight suit because we were told we were going to go to Brussels to get it ride back to our bases in England. Would you believe that as glider pilots, we stayed in Brussels for 3 weeks? We borrowed some red tams from the British, and every time an MP would stop us, "Hey, we're attached to the British 6th Airborne." And the British 6th heard about that. So every time an MP would call the British, they said, "Yeah, those guys are on detached service with us." So they couldn't do a thing to us. So finally, they sent a TWX to General Eisenhower. How do we get the glider pilots to go home? So General Eisenhower had to print a direct order, glider pilots go home. Oh, but it was fun. So even though war is hell, and you see your friends die right and left of you, there are things that make war an experience that you'll never forget. It's hard to believe it was 70 years ago.
Outside a little town nobody'd ever heard of, named Bastogne, we dug in while we waited for relief.
Bastogne was just a small village, a crossroads, where they connect a couple of highways going north and south, east and west. And we captured that because we knew we could stop the Germans, because we had captured the crossroad. So gliders were sent in to resupply them, not only with water and fuel, but with bandages and blood and plasma. So lots of wounded there that were hurt or killed during the time of the breakthrough. And the Ardennes Forest is what it was called.
Under cover of fog and bad flying weather, the Wehrmacht launches a desperate counterattack. They're throwing 25 divisions at us. Our lines reel back. The Battle of the Bulge is on.
We were sitting on the runway, ready to take off for Bastogne when the fog came in. So they had to call another glider organization to take our place. So since I wasn't going there, I flew with the C-47 as the co-pilot. So I did get there one way or the other.
Patton's armor races madly to the relief of Bastogne, where parts of the 9th and 10th Armored Divisions and the 101st Airborne, tough paratroopers and glider men were surrounded by the enemy.
Patton, if he didn't get to Bastogne in time, we would lose Bastogne. So that's why he went from the Mediterranean all the way up to the Ardennes Forest. And we made it possible. One of the humorous things I think about Patton, he told his troopers, I want you to go north till you run out of gas and then wait. And I said to myself, what else are they going to do when they don't have any gas? It was our job to get gas to them. So we landed on the runway, which was the Autobahn, unloaded the gas, took on wounded, and going the same direction, we just went straight ahead and took off. And then they would go north again, we'd go back, get more gas, and land at another Autobahn. And we did that for a week straight, flying all day long, 8 hours a day, as long as there was daylight, bringing gas and taking back the wounded. Hitler, when he designed the Autobahn, designed with the idea those could be emergency landing areas. Of course, it wasn't always in the right direction, but if you have a good pilot, and that's what the G stands for, you could land anywhere. You fly through rain or snow or whatever it takes to get there. You know how much was dependent on you being there. The Germans needed that crossroads to get their troops through, but they weren't going to let them do it. And their commanding general, when they were asked to surrender, told them nuts. And they didn't understand the word nuts, but everybody else did. It means that we weren't going to do it. We were going to stay there.
We take positions in the open fields, positions we hope will give us command of the situation at Bastogne. The Germans have cut the main road to the south, and now we're surrounded. We're cold and hungry and short of supplies. Then, just like an answer to our prayers, Allied planes are able to get into the air. And oh, what a lovely sight they are. Fighters, bombers, and cargo planes. The enemy throws all the flak he has at the big birds, but the planes come on just the same. And what looks best of all to us are our fat friends, the C-47s, bringing the guns and ammo we need so bad. You talk about manna from heaven, this is it for us.
We're in a floorless tent with no heat. That's how we celebrated Christmas in France. Our last mission was crossing the Rhine, and Germans were mad because now we were in Germany and they didn't want us there.
Everything is made ready for the armies to cross, and a tremendous airborne army will strike ahead of them.
And we landed across the Rhine. At the same time, the British and the French troops and others were crossing the Rhine in rubber boats. And the Germans were trying to prevent their landing. But to their horror, we landed behind them near a little town called Dortmund.
They are on the ground. They are beyond the Rhine. With one terrific blow, they have begun the last great battle in the West. Now they will unload, deploy, and drive forward for their objectives. The crossroads, the bridges, the strong points, which might hinder the land armies, thrusting along behind them.
You were just a soldier fighting to stay alive. Sometimes you go a day and a half without food or without sleep. But the adrenaline being fired at gives you, don't you know, gives you the adrenaline to keep going because you want to get it over with and get gone. I was never captured. I was never injured. I had people firing. I heard the bullets going by, but thank Lord I was not hit. I was never hit. I said to people, the medal you get for a wound, I didn't want. So I always ducked when they were firing. Before I went to Europe, my brother was in North Africa. He was a pilot with the Air Force, and he called me, long distance. He said, Bob, he said, I want to tell you something that might help you. I know you're going into combat and you probably have butterflies. So let me tell you this, only the good die young. Isn't that like an older brother? And here I am today, so I must be very, very bad.
Hold up, don't touch that remote. There's more to come on the life of Captain Robert H. Meyer. But first, I want to give you more information about how you can own your own beautiful manufactured home at a price that's only available to veterans. It's all due to the partnership between Veterans Affordable Housing Program and Santiago Communities, Inc., founded by Richard Simonian, a veteran and a member of the original Green Berets. Mr. Simonian has made it his goal to help veterans own homes in his communities. He knows that life can be difficult for America's returning heroes, and he wants to help as many of them as he can. He wants them to experience the joy of owning a home, as opposed to renting a place that isn't very nice, or even living with relatives in a spare room or a garage. Buying a home is expensive, and very likely, in this economy, beyond the means of many veterans, whether they are young and have no credit history, or maybe are falling on hard times and think they'll never get back on their feet. But manufactured homes cost just a fraction of the price of a brick and mortar home. And even if you're living on a very meager budget, the Veterans Affordable Housing Program can help you work out the finances. They can assist you with money for a down payment and even help you find furniture and stock the fridge with food. So even if you think this program can't help you, let me tell you, it can. Go to the website www.veteransaffordablehousing.org or give us a call at 888-923-8387 and our experts will start working with you right now. You could be turning the keys to your own front door in just a few short weeks. So now, as promised, let's go back and pick up the recent events in the life of Captain Robert H. Meyer, the World War II glider pilot.
Some time ago I heard about the Legion of Merit, which is the highest award that France can give, similar to our American Medal of Honor, on the same level. So I told them about my experiences in flight and gliders. I told about my experience of taking gas to Patton, and I told them the other things I had done to qualify.
Captain Robert Meyer, in recognition of your heroic actions and extraordinary accomplishments, the President of the French Republic has nominated you to the Legion of Honor.
I never put a scratch on a glider, and I never put a scratch on one of my soldiers.
Airborne.
Airborne.
Now that you've heard the amazing story of Captain Robert H. Meyer, you should know that he is one of more than 600 veterans that live in the 40 communities that are available to veterans to buy into at special prices, thanks to the Veterans Affordable Housing Program. Bob has benefited not only from the Veterans Affordable Housing Program, but from the veteran-friendly community environment and the camaraderie of fellow returning warriors, and special community-sponsored events like dinners, lectures, and holiday festivities. In the past 2 years alone, the Veterans Affordable Housing Program has placed more than 100 veterans into these beautiful manufactured homes. These were 100 people who thought they would never have a chance at the #1 American dream, home ownership. But thanks to the Veterans Affordable Housing Program, they are now living that American dream. But 100 success stories isn't enough. The Veterans Affordable Housing Program wants to do better. So call them. Let their experts get you started on the road to home ownership. That phone number is 888-923-8387. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Here is what Captain Bob Meyer tells his veteran friends about the Veterans Affordable Housing Program.
They're veteran friendly. What they do, they'll do everything in their power to make one of these manufactured homes available at a cost that they can afford to pay.
To learn more, visit us online or call us right now at 888-923-8387.